Anybody who follows me knows full well that I always do my best thinking on the stairs. And so I feel the need once again to go live. I'm doing this knowing full well that anytime I post on social media my support for Israel, I lose hundreds, if not thousands, of followers. And for me, everything is principles over paychecks. And I think that the very fact that the world has become so anti-Israel slash pro-Hamas says a lot about society. And unfortunately, it's nothing good. If you did not take the time to listen, not once, but twice, to the 4.5 hours of House hearings earlier this week about anti-Semitism on campus, or at least watch some of Stefanik's clips, which have already gotten more than 1 billion views in just 2 days. You owe it to yourself, and quite honestly, you owe it to humanity to understand what exactly is going on, not just in America, not just in the world, but particularly on our college campuses, where the next generation of world leaders is being educated and bred. If you want the summation, all three of these presidents, Gay from Harvard, McGill from UPenn, and Kornbluth from MIT, all of whom need to be fired from their jobs and never allowed back in higher education, just my opinion, and the opinion of many, all basically testified that they condone, harbor, educate, and in many instances, actually foster blatant calls for genocide against Jews on their campuses, saying that it's free speech. Okay, like, let's put this in perspective. If anybody, forget about mobs of people, if anybody were to call for the genocide of Blacks, let's say, Asians, gay people, or how about the presidents of these venerable institutions, if anybody were to call for the genocide of these people, would that be considered hate speech? I 100% guarantee that those people would be expelled if they were students and fired if they were faculty. But no. The classes that are blatantly anti-Semitic go on. The faculty who have literally cheered for Hamas as they committed the atrocities of October 7th continue to stay on staff. And the students who are yelling for the genocide of all Jewish people, as well as the destruction of the world's only Jewish state, not a single person has been expelled or honestly even disciplined in any way. This is surreal. This is not about me being Jewish, though I am. And this is about me being human and afraid. Afraid not just for me as a Jew, not for my community as a Jewish people, and not for my nation, the nation of Israel, but for humanity, The world has been entranced by this inexplicable, the only rationale I could come up with is Stockholm Syndrome, whereby they're completely entranced by the very same people who committed 9/11 and who not only blatantly and explicitly, by the way, blatantly and explicitly called not only for the destruction of the state of Israel, but also for the United States of America. Don't believe me? Google it. They make no bones about it. Look at the pro-Hamas rallies. Look how many of them are literally tearing down US flags and replacing them with Palestinian flags. Now, find me one one pro-Israel rally that does the same. You know where you see the United States flags when it comes to pro-Israel rallies? You see them in the hands of the ralliers. Why? Because Israel shares the same exact democratic values as the United States of America. Read their Declaration of Independence. It's literally fashioned from the United States Constitution. Are you aware that 20% of Israel is Arab Muslims who have 100% equal rights to the Jews in that nation? That means they serve in all levels of government, including the Supreme Court, the executive, and the legislature. If those three branches sound familiar, it's because they're the same branches as America. They have the same voting rights, they receive the same education, the same medical benefits, and all of the same equal rights as citizens of Israel. Okay, on the off chance that that doesn't sound like apartheid, welcome to reality. The propaganda that is being spread by Hamas and all of the Iranian proxies is nothing more than propaganda and lies that the world, for some reason, has clung to. And I guarantee that not a single person who is chanting about apartheid, for example, has ever been to Israel. Because you can't go to Israel and say that there's apartheid. You simply can't, because it doesn't exist. And let me talk just briefly about the colonization. Whew. Let me start by saying you can't colonize a nation that you already inhabit. That's just a basic definition of colonization. Even the Quran admits that the Jews were in Israel at the beginning of time, at the beginning of the biblical era. Longer, in fact, than Islam itself. So there's that. There's plenty of archaeological evidence that the Jews have inhabited Israel for at least 3,000 years. Okay. Let's go deeper into the definition of colonization, shall we? In order to be a colonizing nation, you have to have another homeland to go back to. Okay? A colonizer has to come from another homeland, of which there is none. The Jewish nation has always been located where the current land of Israel is. It's had a number of different names since biblical times, but the Jews have always been there. And let me just mention, for whatever it's worth, something that nobody is really talking about for some reason. When the modern Zionist movement started with Theodor Herzl in the late 1880s, Israel, as we know it today, was really nothing but swampland and uninhabitable desert. The Jews, who were being expelled from every corner of the globe, decided that it was time to come back, come back to their ancestral homeland. And so they drained the swampland that no one wanted, and they made the desert bloom that no one wanted to live in. Out of it came the Mecca, that is modern day Israel, that everyone suddenly wants a piece of. Now, sorry for the shaky camera. Let me just say, this is not a cause du jour for me. I have been in pro-Israel and anti-Semitism activist since 1991 or 92, when I was at Cornell University, one of the worst campuses for anti-Semitism in America today. And I'm appalled that Martha Pollack was not at that congressional hearing alongside the three presidents of the aforementioned universities. Anyway, when I was at Cornell, my senior year, the Cornell Daily Sun, which is, whatever, the daily newspaper, accepted money for and printed an entire page advertorial denying the Holocaust. What's an advertorial? I might have made up that word. It's an ad that looks like an article. That was the first time I was ever exposed to real life anti-Semitism. And denying the Holocaust, like, it was so surreal to me as somebody who is Jewish and who grew up in the shadow of the Holocaust. I became an activist then, way before social media. And so when I speak, I try my best to speak from fact. Of course, I have opinions, and I do have strong opinions. But this isn't a purely emotional response to something that the media totally is biased against and completely brainwashes people for reasons I can't explain against the state of Israel and against the Jewish people. When I speak facts, my social media feed is filled. I mean, filled with messages telling me to go kill myself, to go F myself, that I'm a baby killer, that I should go to hell, that all my people are going to hell, and then all sorts of wonderful emojis. This is very, very mature dialogue and discourse. That is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the people who fill my feed with that. Yes, you will be deleted, and yes, you will be blocked. So don't waste the fingers, okay? Tap somewhere else. That being said, I have never, as in ever, and I post a lot. If you go to my personal Facebook page, you'll see, not my YOGAthletica, my personal Shana Meyerson page, you'll see that since October 8th, I haven't posted anything other than Israel posts all day because it's that important to me. But I have never, as in ever, ever, called for the killing of a single civilian or of a single Gazan, okay? I do believe that Hamas needs to be destroyed and extracted from this earth. I do believe that all terrorists need to be disarmed, demilitarized, and taken out of any sort of power, any sort of militia on this earth. Okay? Not just to protect Israel, but to protect literally the entire free world. That being said, if you look at any official statement from the state of Israel, from the IDF, for example, these two organizations, they will always say that they mourn the death of every civilian, including the Palestinians. Good luck finding the Hamas statement ever, or anyone who's pro-Palestinian ever saying that they feel bad about the deaths on the Israeli side. Okay. Literally, since the beginning of the time, Jewish values say that we value every single life, and we do. Golda Meir, whose real last name, although his married last name was Meyerson, same exact as mine, but I don't think we're related because I have a cousin who's a genealogist and has not found any relation, but you don't really care about that. But Golda Meir had a very famous quote. And what she said was, regarding the Palestinians, I can forgive you for killing my sons, but I cannot forgive you for making my sons kill yours. Those are Jewish values. And for anybody who just wants to reply and say, yeah, but here are the numbers, you're not taking into account the fact that Hamas purposely uses human shields. That Israel does more than any militia in the history of the world in the history of warfare to facilitate moving the Gazan citizens to safety, where Hamas quickly follows and then shoots rockets from UN stations, from mosques, from kindergartens, from babies' rooms, from houses, and yes, from hospitals. What is Israel supposed to do? Are they supposed to allow Hamas to live just because they commit the war crime of using their citizens as human shields? Like, do you earn safety by hiding in a tunnel under a kindergarten? Think about this. 2 million people in the most densely populated region, one of the most densely populated regions on Earth, and not that there's been, I don't know, I think maybe 15,000 in every one. I am sorry. I feel terrible for these human beings, but every single one of those people died at the hands of Hamas. They were given weeks to get to safety, thanks to Israel. Don't tell me that they have nowhere to go without asking, why do they have nowhere to go? Where am I at? I'm in Santa Monica, California. They have nowhere to go because every single Arab nation has turned their back on these Palestinian people that they say they care so much about. Which means either A, the Arabs are complicit, also allowing these innocent civilians to be used as human shields in order to gain sympathy from the world, or in the case of Egypt, they don't want these people because they are largely radicalized, and Egypt is literally afraid to have them. So Egypt has locked down. Understand, Egypt also shares a border with the Palestinians in Gaza. If they wanted to let refugees in, they could. They're not. Zero. Zero. How about Lebanon? Lebanon. Hamas's great friend Hezbollah in the north. You know how many refugees they're taking from Gaza? You got it. Zero. Jordan? Well, Jordan's a really nice country, right? Just to the east of Israel. How many Gazans are they taking in? How many refugees? Oh, zero? That's a shocker. Even Iran, the number one state sponsor of terror, who, it's no secret, 100% funds Hamas, has taken a grand total, let me count, of zero Palestinian refugees. And you want to blame Israel for giving them the safe passage out, but no one will take them? You want to free Gaza? Hey, so do I. So do all Jews, and so do all Israelis, to tell you the truth. They need to be freed from Hamas. Are you aware that Israel unilaterally disengaged from Gaza 18 years ago? 18 years ago. So there has been zero so-called occupation for 18 years. And if you're upset that Israel locks its borders next to a terrorist state, Well, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? If you had terrorists living 1 mile from your house or less, would you want a barrier to entry? Because there's also the fact that Israel actually brought in tens of thousands of Gazans a day into Israel so that they could work there and earn a good salary. In fact, at the time of these attacks, Israel was considering creating more visas for more Gazans to come in daily to Israel so they could earn a living. The thought being that if Gazans have a better quality of life, then maybe they will put down their arms and just live peacefully next to Israel. It sounds like a fair enough concept. Is this Israel's job? Well, there's also the fact that Hamas steals, this is all over the internet, and Hamas doesn't even deny it again, the money and supplies that are meant for civilian infrastructure to build billions and billions of dollars, worth of terror tunnels that I'm sure you have seen on the news. Okay? You want to know why Gazans don't have water? Well, when your government steals the pipes that are meant for the water and makes them into missiles, you don't have water. Plain and simple. Oh, is that Israel's fault too? Okay, but I digress. The real thing I actually want to talk about today is the concept of yoga and war. Where does Ahimsa come in with all of this? Ahimsa, if you're not familiar, is the first of the yamas, okay, the abstentions of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Okay, and forgive my pronunciation. I know Indian people always get upset when I pronounce things. I'm bad at pronouncing, but at least I know the words. So ahimsa means nonviolence, right? And so, how can a yoga instructor and practitioner, I don't use the word yogi or yogini because really a true yogi and yogini is basically a monk, and I don't pretend to be a monk, but I will tell you this. You'll be hard pressed to find another non-monk who lives as closely to the namas, the yamas and niyamas, as well as the 10 Commandments of the Judeo-Christian Bible, than I do. I take this all very, very seriously, and I live a very, very stringent lifestyle. That being said, how does a yoga practitioner who claims to care about humanity, who claims to care so much about ahimsa, possibly support Israel in these turbulent times? How can I possibly support the cause of war? Well, let me put it to you bluntly. If you, a peace activist, stand in a room, and let's say, for argument's sake, you're Jewish. You don't have to be Israeli, you don't even have to be American. Let's just leave it at Jewish. You're Jewish, and you are singing Kumbaya in a synagogue, and a terrorist comes in. Okay, forget about like marauding terrorists. Okay, thousands of people who have come to kill you, to rape you, to behead you, to burn you, to dismember you, to humiliate you, to kidnap you. Forget about all those things. Okay, not thousands, one. Okay, so one terrorist comes in, and you are a Jew singing Kumbaya. What do you think is going to happen to you? I'll give you a hint. Of the 1,200 Israelis that were brutally beyond comprehension, massacred in the most horrifying ways on October 7th, almost all of them were peace activists. Read their bios. Find out how many of these people literally dedicated their lives to trying to create peace between them and the Palestinian neighbors on the other side of the border. It's frightening, it's sickening, and many of the 138 hostages that are being held in the most inhumane, torturous conditions after I think it's 61 days now in Gaza. I could be wrong about that number, it could be more. Many of those exact people are the people who were singing Kumbaya when Hamas parachuters come into a peace festival, and mow these people down. Let me ask you this. You think that my Ahimsa needs to be to protect the people of Gaza, but I am not allowed as a Jew the Ahimsa of wanting to protect my own people and my own nation? In what world is any nation not allowed to defend itself from bloodthirsty, maniacal terrorists? The answer is nowhere. There's no nation on this earth other than Israel that is not allowed to defend itself. And for anybody who thinks it's appropriate after the horrifying events of October 7th to demand, like Guterres, that Israel submits to a ceasefire, how about all that really has to happen is Hamas, who started this war, laying down their arms, surrendering, and returning all 138 hostages. Ask yourself why. If you are truly somebody who does believe in nonviolence, why would you call on the nation that was victimized by this terror to lay down their arms instead of the designated terrorist state of Hamas laying down their arms and returning 138 hostages? The world has been brainwashed. You have to understand. Hamas is ISIS. They are Al Qaeda. They are the Taliban. They are Hezbollah. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. What starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. America Europe, it's time to wake up. We don't have the luxury of waiting until the next 9/11 before changing this world, before changing its frightening trajectory. Sorry, it's a very loud car going by. And we don't want to, I hope that I speak for everybody, not just the Jewish people. We don't want to wake up to the next Holocaust and say we never saw it coming. Because I'm telling you now, and I'm not an alarmist, and it's hard for me to say this without tears. It's coming. It's coming. And I am calling on all of humanity to read the facts, to understand the reality of what's going on in the world around us right now. And if you have a civil question and want to engage in an honest dialogue where I will only submit verifiable facts about any questions you have about Israel, please, please comment below. But don't just tell me to die. It's not going to solve any problems. And I'm not asking anyone to kill you. I do support Israel unequivocally, and I do stand for peace. Namaste.